Restructuring SAS datasets wide to long. We are considering two structures for data. In the first example, we have all of the data for a single patient on one row or observation. So here we are recording for patient A001 the patient's weight at 3 different time points. So we have their weight 125, and that would go along with the date 1/15/95. And then there was a second weight, 130, that was recorded on July 15th, 1995, and a third weight, 140, recorded on July 15th, 1996. So the 3 weights that were recorded on 3 different dates are all in a single observation. The other structure for the data is to have 3 separate observations for one patient. And so we have the same patient recorded on 3 different rows of data for the 3 different visits that the weight was recorded. So we are now going to look at how to go from a single observation to multiple observations per subject. There are a couple of things to remember. If there is one or more output statements in the data step, then SAS writes out a new observation at these exact points in the data step, with whatever the values of all variables are at that time. If there is no output statement, then SAS writes out the observation at the end of the data step. So we're interested in going from a single observation to multiple observations. The data we are looking at here is from a study of affective facial expressions. Several pieces of music were played to each subject in an attempt to elicit selected affected states at 3 different time points. For each time point or trial, EMG was recorded from the left brow region. So the data that we are looking at was initially recorded in the following manner. We have a subject, and then the EMG values were recorded at 3 time points, and they were recorded as trial 1, trial 2, and trial 3. Now we want to take this particular data structure and we want to turn our data set so that it looks like the data set on the bottom of the slide, where for every trial there's a separate observation for that subject. So we're switching it so we have subject 1 appearing 3 different times for each trial, and at each trial we have a separate variable EMG that's recorded. So this is the code we are going to use to create 3 observations per subject. I want you to note a couple of things. First of all, there are 3 sets of similar statements containing 3 statements each. The first set is in the box. Note the output statement at the end of each block. We learned before that the output statement will write the current values of all variables to the data set we are creating. Since there are 3 of them, there will be 3 observations written for each observation that was read in. Now let's look at the code in the first block. We first create a new variable called EMG that is assigned the baseline EMG value, and that variable was trial 1. We then create a variable called trial. We set the value to 1 to indicate the first time that they conducted the experiment, or the first trial. We follow this with the output statement, which writes out an observation to the data set. For this observation, the 2 new variables contain the information from the first trial. In the next block of code, we then change the values for EMG and trial. We assign the trial 2 data to these variables. We needn't worry that we change the values. The trial 1 values are safely on our new SAS data set. We then input these values with the second output statement. We then repeat this process a 3rd time for the 3rd trial. If there were more trials, there would be more blocks of similar statements. Finally, the keep statement tells SAS to only include the listed variables to the SAS dataset. We include only the new variables plus subject. We don't need the old trial variables. They are all contained in the variable EMG, but on different records. Now view the SAS demonstration program wide to long.